something that showed them a way to serve others instead of living only for themselves. Reading the stories of these courageous men and women not only helps us discover the principles that we will use to guide our own lives, but also teaches us about our Black heritage and about America itself. It is crucial for us to know the heroes and heroines of our history and to realize that the price we paid in our struggle for equality in America was dear. But we must also understand that we have gotten as far as we have partly because America's democratic system and ideals made it possible. We are still struggling with racism and prejudice, but the great men and women in this series are a tribute to the spirit of our democratic ideals and the system in which they have flourished. And that makes their stories special and worth knowing. Chapter 1. Widow. Happily married to a prominent Baptist minister and the mother of 4 beautiful children, Coretta Scott King had many blessings to count on Thursday, April 4th, 1968. Experience had taught her to guard against becoming complacent about anything life had given her, though. Specifically, life with her husband, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., made Coretta aware, at times painfully so, that hers would never be an ordinary family. That spring day had begun uneventfully enough, however. Coretta was busy taking care of her children in her Atlanta, Georgia home. She looked forward to Easter, which was only a few days away. Her husband was on an important trip, but she and the children expected to spend the holiday with him upon his return. Coretta had finished all of her pre-holiday shopping, with the exception of selecting some dresses for her 12-year-old daughter, Yolanda. Although she initially had had some misgivings about buying the children new clothes for Easter, because she feared that the sacred meaning of the holiday would be lost, she had relented with Martin's blessing. With everything else the children faced, including long separations from their father, she decided to spare them from feeling left out at Easter services, where everyone would be displaying their new finery. Coretta and Yolanda went shopping in downtown Atlanta that afternoon. They had just come home when the telephone rang. Jesse Jackson, a young minister from Chicago, was on the line. "Coretta, Doc just got shot," Jackson said. "I would advise you to take the next thing smoking." Coretta's heart stood still. Doc was her husband, Dr. King. As Jackson explained that Martin had been shot in the shoulder, Coretta tried not to imagine the worst. She hung up the phone and called her best friend, Dora McDonald. She then made arrangements to catch the next plane to Memphis, Tennessee, where her husband lay wounded. Dr. King had been scheduled to lead a march there to protest the treatment of the city's garbage collectors, who were demanding better wages and work conditions. Andrew Young, another Black minister, called Coretta from Memphis a few minutes later. Reverends Young, Jackson, and Ralph Abernathy, all of whom worked with Dr. King, had planned to take part in the protest march. Young's news about Martin's condition was more accurate than Jackson's had been. Dr. King, he reported, was in serious condition, with a gunshot wound to the neck. News of the shooting was important not only to his family. Millions of Americans flocked to their televisions and radios to learn the details of the tragic event. For 12 years, Dr. King had led a nonviolent protest movement to win equal rights for Black Americans and end a 400-year-old legacy of racial prejudice and injustice in the United States. African Americans were treated like second-class citizens because state and federal laws failed to guarantee them the rights enjoyed by whites, particularly in the southern United States. A threat to King's life was a threat to the entire civil rights movement. Coretta turned on the television in her living room. Reports of the shooting had already reached news stations across the country. Yolanda and her siblings, Martin III, 10, Dexter, 7, and little Bernice, 5,